everyone. I'm Dr. Lillian C.J. Wong, a member of the INPM, and I'm also Vice President of the Meaning-Centered Counseling Institute. A warm welcome to Dr. Paul Wong's webinar on what can we learn from the new science of flourishing and suffering. Now, after Dr. Paul Wong's presentation, there will be a short Q&A session. Tim Yu and Miga Leung will be the moderators. And please use the chat to send in your questions. Obviously, we can only answer a few questions. Now, Dr. Wong will answer all the questions on the website, okay? And this webinar is recorded for registered participants who are unable to attend the live session. You know, sometimes it's because of the time zone. And we will send the recordings 2 weeks after the live chat, okay? And Dr. Paul Wong will offer an online course on the topic in the fall. And it will be part of the requirements for the certification for meaning therapy. To follow our activities and events, please go and visit meaning.ca. May I present Dr. Paul Wong now.
Good morning, everybody. And good evening for my friends in Taiwan and Hong Kong and India. I'm glad to have this opportunity to share with you an exciting new model of well-being. I want to invite you to consider 3 new ideas. The first one is that don't consider suffering as your enemy. It's better to consider suffering as your best teacher and a lifetime companion. The second point is that according to the science of existential positive psychology, suffering is the necessary foundation for sustainable flourishing. In other words, no pain, no gain. No suffering, no happiness. My third point is that you can apply the new science to your personal life and to your practice for personal growth in time of adversity. So that is the overview. Now, this is a challenging time for all of us. I know that some people are suffering because of the pandemic. However, the fact that you are taking this webinar indicates that you have some hope that positive change is possible. So I have good news for you. You are stronger than you thought. You have all the natural capacity to be resilient and happy even during the pandemic. All the good things that happen to describe here can happen to you. For example, fear of death can make you focus on what really matters in life. Also, a time of isolation can give you the time to explore your inner landscape and explore new ideas. Now, the old must go before the new can come. That's a natural law, right? For example, a friend of mine was fired in his Christian ministry. That was the darkest chapter in his life. But because of this tragic event, he was able to develop a new ministry which is much more successful and much more fulfilling. Similarly, breaking up with your girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse can be very painful. But this is not the end of the world, because you can find a better match later on. Okay. Now, this is a picture of post-traumatic growth. Now, all these positive things can happen to some people who experience trauma. But the process of transformation can be complicated and difficult. Each of these 5 things, your possibility, increased strength, spiritual development, it all involved some personal struggle, involved some tough decision making. Now, here is a model of neuroscience or pain research. Often, there is no direct connection between tissue injury and the experience of pain, because from a noxious stimulation to the experience of pain, it goes to the brain, goes to the brain. Now, pain and suffering are slightly different. Pain refers to physical sensation in the body, unpleasant, uncomfortable. Suffering, on the other hand, involves your interpretation of pain, the meaning you attach to it, your beliefs. So therefore, both recent research show that pain can lead to personal growth if you have courage, you're able to practice mindful acceptance, you're able to attach personal meaning. Pain can lead to personal growth and joy. On the other hand, if you catastrophize, you exaggerate your pain, you will experience detrimental outcome. You experience a great deal of pain. So this is based on medical research, okay? So also provide evidence that suffering and pain can lead to personal growth. Now, so we mentioned earlier that if you attribute personal meaning to suffering, then it not only makes suffering more bearable, but actually can lead to personal growth. So meaning is the antidote to suffering. On the other hand, if there's no meaning for suffering, then life is not worth living. Existence is futile. This kind of meaninglessness, even you cannot find any reason for living in time of difficulty, it often leads to suicide. So that's very sad. So to summarize, on the effect suffering, suffering can be redemptive. It can trigger the search for meaning, a reason for living. It can purify your mind. It can bring you closer to God. So suffering is redemptive and transformative. Now, here is from another angle, a Buddha's Four Noble Truths. Now, you don't have a Buddhist to see that life is suffering. all the smart guys will agree that life is suffering. Birth trauma, illness, old age, and fear of death, and separation from what you want to have, get stuck with what you don't have. These are common day experience. Everybody experience. But Buddhism also believes that there is delivery from suffering. The Dalai Lama makes it very clear that mindfulness can liberate you from suffering and bring you happiness. Christianity also has solution. Christianity says that believe in Jesus and it will liberate you from suffering and bring you happiness. So every religion provides an antidote to suffering. Now, this is a famous formula from Martin Seligman, a formula for well-being and flourishing. We all know that the old model of parapsychology is no longer adequate in the era of COVID-19. For example, the pursuit of happiness provides no cure for existential suffering. In fact, research shown that the single-minded pursuit of happiness itself can bring happiness. Now, today, for example, we can clearly see that for each of these 5 elements, there is a black hole of suffering. For example, let's talk about relationship. Now, we all believe that relationship is good, but whenever there is intimate relationship, there is conflict, inevitable. Also, we believe that marriage can bring you happiness. Marriage is good for you, but in many marriages, your spouse is your worst hell. And during the pandemic, there's a spike in number of divorces. Similarly, in the pursuit of meaning, for you to pursue anything worthwhile, it's inevitable that you will experience setback. It's inevitable that you'll make sacrifices. So, in fact, the more sacrifice you make, the more likely you will experience meaning. So in every single of these 5 elements, always include existential suffering. Now, this is a book I highly recommend. Dr. Fowler makes the compelling case that you cannot experience or achieve flourishing without taking into account and considering the human context of limitations, vulnerability, dependence, suffering in a world of evil, human evil, natural disaster, and ruthless competition. According to Fowler, the only antidote to all these human limitations and vulnerability and suffering is virtue. You need to develop the virtue. So against this suffering lead to virtue development. Our friend Erickson also makes a point. Okay. Life is a constant struggle. You know why? Because Erickson said that in every stage of human development, you involve some risk. The youngest age, you want trust, mistrust. Next age, shame over doubts. initiative versus guilt. So in every stage, if you're not able to resolve the developmental crisis, then you carry something, some injury, some suffering to the next stage. You're able to not, as an adolescent, if you are not able to resolve your identity crisis, if you cannot figure out who you are, what you're here for, if this identity crisis is not resolved, then you never grow up. You might carry this, you maybe carry it on into your adulthood, in your old age. So that may be a source of misery for you. So therefore, it's important to recognize that life is a constant struggle and life is suffering, and we may as well get used to the truth. So therefore, we need a new science of existential psychology of suffering. This new science will focus on resilience mindset, overcome tragedy and suffering, and expect both bad things and good things to happen. Not say, oh, life is good, period. Life is both bad and good. So existential parapsychology, or second wave parapsychology, simply integrate existential psychology with parapsychology. Existential parapsychology emphasizes that it is only through embracing the dark side of life and wrestling with our ultimate concerns that we can grow psychologically and improve the human condition. There's no easy happiness, no quick fix, no easy happiness, no easy grace. We have to arm ourselves with a mindset to face the dark side of life and to struggle. Now, this is a very good picture of the new science of suffering. You can consider well-being as a complete circle. The pop psychology talking about happiness, good, is only half of the circle. So your well-being cannot be complete if you only stay here. Even you stay in the bright side, there's still a black hole, a dark hole in the bright side. So complete happiness, complete well-being also include the dark side of suffering. Furthermore, according to the new science, if you want to reach heaven, you want to flourish, your root must be deep. Your roots must reach hell. If you don't go to hell, you can't go to heaven. I become a Christian and experienced the show of heaven because I came to the end of the rope. I was desperate and asked for God's help. So everybody needs to go through the suffering to discover a deeper kind of life. Okay? Now, the second tenet of the new science is that everything in nature, everything in life exists in polarity. We have positively and negatively charged electron. Our body has excitation and inhibition. In life, we have goodness, good and evil, happiness and happiness. Nietzsche says happiness and unhappiness are twins, they grow up together. So is good and evil. You can't have goodness in life without understanding evil. So it is important to understand this truth. Because now the dual system, this simple way is explaining. Now here's a more complicated way. So basically, if we want to have resilience and happiness, we have to consider this approach system, avoiding system. The approach system is also called reward system. You know, the aversive system is also called avoidance system. The approach system is pursuing happiness, pursuing meaning. Pure is a strategy to pursue meaning. Pure means purpose, understanding, reasonability, and enjoyment. So the approach. But while you search for happiness or for meaning, inevitable that you experience setbacks and disappointment. So what happened? As soon as you experience setback, it bump you into the negative system. See how it connected? It bump you into negative system. So therefore, you need to go through this ABCD strategy: acceptance, belief, commitment, discovery. You need to go through ABCD system in order to go back to the positive system again. So there's an interact. Okay? Now, here's what I'm saying. This mindful awareness, actually the Swiss system, the mindfulness system belongs to the default network. So actually we have three network. The approach, aversive, avoidance are the well-established. The default network, the default mode network is a recent discovery. We'll talk about it later. Now here is it, okay? The basic tenet number 4 is that you need to cultivate the resting mind that is essential for resilience and well-being. Now, this area is the default mode network. Okay, there. So when your mind is not actively engaged with the outside world, your default mode take over. You know, our client come to see me when they're retired, when nothing to do. They complain about one thing in common. That means after I'm retired, I'm nothing to do. My mind is bombarded with anxious thoughts. I feel so miserable, so unhappy. Why? I said, that's inevitable. You know why? Because when you're working, your mind is engaged with something. So work is good for you. When you don't work, or when you got locked down and locked up in a place with nothing to do, when you're bored, when your mind is wandering, that is the worst time for you, because if your mind is not engaged, you're vulnerable to all kinds of critical voices from your unconsciousness. And also your mind will naturally drift to self-focus thinking, like rumination about your past mistakes, about your future worries. Your mind keeps saying about me, what happened to me, poor me, I'm so unhappy, I don't have this, I don't have that. So when your mind is not engaged, actively engaged, you'll be open to all kinds of negative thoughts, okay? So this part, this default network, one part is medial prefrontal cortex, and this part is the posterior cingulate cortex, also called limbic cortex. Okay, so this part is very important for either your happiness or your misery. Okay, if you do not cultivate this part, for example, you can be do not be anxious in everything by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, pray to God, and then you'll be happy. If you spend this time cultivating mindfulness, you'll be happy. On the other hand, your idle mind is doing nothing, wondering. Guess where do it go? It goes to the dark hole of rumination, critical voices. Right? You'll bring you all kind of misery. Now, this is a latest model. This is a tripartite neural model of building resilience. So the brain actually has three parts. Now here is the reward part, okay? Reward part. You do all the good things. Now don't forget, there's only one out of three. This will bring in happiness. But we talked earlier that even the reward system often get into trouble, okay? This part is the aversive part, okay? The coping part. This will manage, we can reduce your fear amygdala, also can reduce the activity of your hippocampus, pituitary, adrenal gland, and also your ANS, automatic nervous system. In other words, it can reduce, your aversive part can reduce your fear and distress response. But the best part is the default network. They call it self-transcendence or mindfulness. If you are able to develop this area in prayer, in mindfulness, in self-transcendence, then it will influence reward, increase reward, facilitate your reward system, or also make your aversive system more effective in reducing fear. So it has benefit all three areas. On the other hand, if you are not able to get away from this negative self-focus, to transcend you will not able to transcend yourself, and then you'll be miserable. Then they will reduce your resilience. So this is a new area in scientific research about the brain, and also in science of suffering. It's critical that you cultivate when your brain is not engaged with other things, to spend your time in prayer and meditation, in mindfulness. Okay, I don't want to preach to you, but this is an important area. See, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, think about those things. See, don't think about bad things. Think about things that's worth praising, that lift up your soul, fill your heart with happiness. Now, section 3, how to transform your suffering into personal growth. Now, this is the application part now, okay? Suffering is no longer a stigma. All the wise people say the suffering is suffering. Do you know the 3 best-selling books? Frankl's Search for Meaning, all-time bestseller. Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled, also bestseller, selling millions of books. Finally, Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules, also sold 7 million copies. All the best-selling books talk about suffering, how to transform suffering. It indicates that people deep down in their heart know that they cannot find happiness simply by pursuing happiness. They can find happiness only when they know how to relate to their suffering, how to transform their suffering. Okay? Now, here's something. I mentioned 3 things here. 3 interventions. The most powerful intervention for second wave parapsychology is develop a resilient mindset. Okay. Now I want you to take a look. Okay. Now, resilient usually defined as bouncing back. But I suggest a new view of resilience. Resilience means to develop a resilient mindset that prevents you from deep drop in your well-being. It prevents the collapsing of your well-being. Now, this slide might be the most important slide in the whole to this talk. The 6 strategies you need to learn. If you learn these 6 strategies, your life will be changed. The first strategy is be tough, develop your toughness mentally and emotionally. Second, assume the ability for your own life to face new reality. Third, appreciate what you have. Fourth, mindfully accept life. Develop meaningful mindset and have faith and belief. Now I can explain to you more clearly, okay? Now we are living in a hostile world. Anybody can get infected with the virus. So positive thinking is not going to help you to face the danger. You need existential courage. Right? You need some courage to face the world. Courage is the most important of all virtues. Chinese about more than failure. You have no courage, you can't do anything. You don't want to risk, you don't want to try a new job, you don't want to meet people, you're hiding in your apartment, you don't want to face new people, fear of rejection, fear of failure, then you'll spend the rest of your life in misery. If you have no courage, that's what will happen to you. It takes courage for you to face the world. Vulnerability, You know, I keep on talking about vulnerability, but my friends in parapsychology, nobody wants to talk about vulnerability. Nowadays, the medical professionals say, we have to be personally responsible, socially responsible to save us from the pandemic. You're responsible for your action, for your behavior, to other people as well. Acceptance, okay? The most difficult thing to accept yourself, Carl Jung. No, the strategy of accepting is to accept and appreciate what you have. It's silly to torment yourself, to cry over what you don't have, cry over what you have lost, instead of appreciating, giving thanks for what you have. You'll be able to appreciate and accept what we have, rather than crying, oh, I'm too short. You're too short, you're too short, you're short. But I'm short and small, but I got a good brain. So I accept what I have. I'm not going to if I cry over my stature, my shortness, I'll be miserable for my life. Also, you accept reality. Okay. Helen Keller say, life is full of suffering, but also full of overcoming. So accept reality. It's a constant struggle. If you want to believe that, oh, life is good, life is enjoyment, then you'll be in trouble. Bring a more realistic view of our life. Life is full of suffering and full of struggle. And life also a series of dilemmas and conflicts. Life involves making tough choices between a rock and a hard place. Often people say, no choice. I have to do what people think. When they say no choice for doing bad things, actually they're saying that I don't have the courage to do what's right. So I do what is convenient, what is expedient. That doesn't require toughness, doesn't require courage. That will bring you in trouble. The new science also means to understand the paradoxical truth. Okay, find happiness by embracing suffering. Finding your life by willing to lose it. So this paradoxical truth. So this understanding, we need to understand this, that lead up to the part of meaning. So I define meaning as pure, have purpose, understand, and responsibility, and then you're able to enjoy life. We'll cover that this afternoon about Frankl. The last part is to have faith and believe. Faith gives you hope. Faith gives you confidence. Okay, you have to believe that you can do it. Now, here's one example how to apply the 6th strategy to transform your negative emotion to positive ones. I must protect my mental health, vulnerability. I must face the negative emotion with courage. I can turn it into my advantage. Okay, confidence. I need to accept it calmly. I need to reframe it positively. I'm grateful for this experience. Now, if you practice this kind of strategy, mindset, use a resilient mindset to face your negative emotion, then you'll be able to become stronger. 3:1 part 2 ratio, okay? Part psychologists say, you try to think about 3 positive things to overcome 1 negative thing. My positive ratio is not 3 positive things. The real positive is to be positive while understanding negative. Accepting life while going through the suffering. Accept gratitude for what you have, even when you have lost something. And believe that you can create something new. So the true positivity, true positiveness means that it exists within the context of negative things. Now, within each of us, we have all kinds of negative thoughts, all kinds of past, future. So we need to practice. Here is a model of resource conclusion model of coping. So proactive, we can cultivate the resources. And during coping, you use appropriate strategies. If the event is, if you have the resource and ability, then you use problem-focused coping. Okay? You problem-focused coping, then solve the problem. If it doesn't work, then you use conservation and rebuild resources. If it doesn't work, then you use meaningful coping. Meaningful coping is much more effective than emotional coping. Okay, my time is up for questions. I finish it in 40 minutes, okay? So you guys can ask questions. So you can read the book and then go over the slide to see if any question you can ask me. Okay. The first question, do we have a built-in capacity to survive and be happy? Does it mean that transitional situations like today have a fundamental meaning of discovering and making use of it on the unconscious level? Okay. Now the future is uncertain. The future is ambitious. But important thing to believe that we all have the built-in capacity to survive and to be happy. We have the prefrontal lobe to do rational thinking. We have the default network to cultivate mindfulness and spiritual qualities. And we also have the rational thinking to discover meaning. In other words, if you do what you do, you'll be able to have a better future. The second question, are you saying that we need to cast the PERMA model out? Oh, no, I don't mean to cast the PERMA model out. I'm saying that positive intervention has done a lot of good, but positive intervention can be more effective if it has a built-in component for the second wave of psychology, or use the positive intervention alongside with second wave intervention. If we are able to take care of the negative aspects involved in each of the 5 areas of PERMA, then we can be more effective in all positive intervention. What is the third question? What strategy would suggest to build resilient mindset in people? Okay. You can start, there are 6 strategies for a resilient mindset. You can start with any point. For example, you can start by accepting yourself. You guys, it confused me. I can't answer the question. Okay. Please, don't confuse me, okay? You split people in and out. Okay, go back to your question, okay? Now, you can start almost anywhere. The easier is to accept yourself, give blessings for what you already have. You already have life. But if you're dead, you're still alive. So thank God. Be grateful that you still have life. You still have your health. You still have so many things. So start to give thanks for what you already have, rather than mourn or cry over what you don't have. That's the first step. Be grateful for what you have. The second thing is Try to tell yourself, stop running. You can't run away from problem. The more you run, the more your problem will chase after you. You stop and stay your ground. Say, I'm no longer running. I have courage with God's help or with your friend's help, with whatever. I will stop running. I can stand my ground and face you with courage. Then you'll become much stronger. The meaning, same thing. Meaning, any problem, there is some hidden meaning, some benefits. You can find some benefit from the suffering, then you feel much better. So you can start from any point, okay? The last question, are you saying that we should cultivate the Olympic thinking? No, I'm not talking about cultivate your limbic system. I'm telling you cultivate your singular cortex. It is the limbic cortex, not limbic system. Limbic cortex is a part right above the limbic system. So your prefrontal cingulate cortex, it influences the limbic system. Limbic system is connected with the autonomic nervous system and hippocampus, hypothalamus, and adrenal gland, and so it's the limbic system, the midbrain, is the reptile brain, okay? But the default network, we cultivate the default network, the cingulate cortex and the medial prefrontal cortex. Those parts involving your evaluation, your social norm, social support, your beliefs. So your interpretation, your value can influence the limbic system. You don't cultivate your limbic system direct, but you cultivate your limbic cortex, the cortex, the cingulate cortex right above the limbic system. Next point. Could I explain how it flow a way of transcendence or power of mindfulness? Well, a flow is also a way of transcendence, self-transcendence. Because you're really getting to flow, you forget yourself. So we talk more this afternoon. You know, people don't understand. Self-absorption, self-preoccupation is our curse. The more we get away from ourselves, the happier we are. So self-transcendence can be achieved by prayer and mindfulness, by pursuing something bigger than ourselves. Self-transcendence can also be achieved by being completely immersed in a task that is a flow, okay? Next question, how can be a catastrophe mindset become a growth mindset? Okay, that's interesting. We know that if you react to potential threat in a very negative way, you catch yourself. See, you are now catastrophizing. Once you catch yourself doing catastrophizing, when you catch yourself, you're gonna say, no, I don't want to go down that route. I will face the thing. Once you stop running, stop catastrophizing, once you stay the ground and face the problem, face the mad dog, the mad dog will stop barking and then go away from you. So involving a choice, involving a critical choice. Okay? That you have to say, no more running away from problem, no more catastrophizing to scare myself. I want to get out of this negative loop. Just stand. This afternoon we'll talk more about that. You have to stand still, say, no, I must stop. Stop. Turn around and face the reality. Okay, we'll talk about that more this afternoon. How do I know that I'm complete? Well, how do you understand? You completely understand yourself. I don't know how you can know how to completely understand yourself. But I know this. It's a process. It takes time to discover your true self. It takes time to discover your blind spot. All I know is that the more you understand yourself, the more you are at peace with yourself. You stop the internal warfare with yourself. You begin to have calmness, begin to have inner peace. Rather than hide yourself, pretend to be somebody you're not, then you suffer from this, suffer from all kinds of symptoms if you don't accept yourself, okay? Next question is, what is NE? NE is negative emotion. NE stands for anything painful memory, painful emotion. How I control Trump doesn't involve in, Trump can be applied to anybody who is not religious. Even non-religious person had to have faith in something. Faith in the future is faith. Your hope in the future, you don't have evidence that that future will work out. So that requires faith. Faith in your own ability is faith. But just religious person has an advantage of faith has a higher power, so they have an additional sense of security and comfort. One more question, then I will call it off so that this afternoon, many of things will be answered this afternoon. And last question, does it mean that someone will keep on hitting the roadblock, trying to discover meaning? Okay, for a person who constantly keep on hitting roadblock, now, if you keep on experiencing rejection and face obstacle, I have gone through that many times, but I never give up. That's where persistence comes in. I believe in my life goal. That's why I can pursue it. If one way is blocked, I try another way. If another way is blocked, I try another way. I keep on praying, I keep on trying, I keep on knocking. Eventually, something will open up. On the other hand, if I give up, that means the end of me. I'm still standing tall. I'm still full of energy and life because I keep on trying. Okay, thank you for listening. My time is up. I pass down to my wife.
Thank you, Paul. And I want to thank you for participating in this webinar. And I know there are a lot more questions to be answered, and Paul's going to do that either this afternoon or on the website. I know during this unprecedented pandemic time, and I'm very, very pleased that you can participate. And if you want to learn more about today's content, please keep an eye on the online course that will be offered in the fall. Okay, and please, if you wanted to know more, go to meaning.ca, and for some, we will see you this afternoon. And I want you to keep well and stay safe and be happy. Okay, goodbye for now.